Hello everyone, my name is Autumn Cody. I am a senior marketing major here in Paul College and also an active member of UNH and AMA, or UNH AMA and MAC. We are about to begin our marketing professionals panel, but before we do so, I would like to take the time to introduce our panelists. On our panel, we have 5 fairly recent alumni, 4 of which are UNH alumni, and they're going to discuss their careers, tips for landing that first job, and provide their recommendations for making the most out of your college experience. I am pleased to introduce Taylor Barbagallo, a brand marketing specialist for Zipcar, Katerina Barda, an associate brand manager at Stonyfield, Bryn Foley, a coordinating producer at Barstool, Emily Fuller, a consumer insights manager at Shark Ninja, and finally Devin Silva, an associate product manager for DraftKings. I'm now going to hand it off to Shelby Nicholson. She is a senior here in Paul as well, and she is also the vice president of the UNH Marketing and Advertising Club. Thank you very much, and I hope you enjoy.
Awesome, thank you. So we are so fortunate to have quite an array of brands and marketing disciplines on this panel, and from brand and product managers to data-driven detectives to marketing assistants and brand and consumer enthusiasts, all for well-known brands, and a special welcome back to our UNH Wildcats. So our first question is, in 1 or 2 sentences, can you tell us your name, your company, and the role that you play in your company?
Hi everyone, my name is Taylor Barbagallo and I'm a brand marketing specialist at Zipcar.
Hi everybody, my name is Katerina Barta. I work for Stonyfield Organic and I'm an associate brand manager.
Hi everyone, I'm Bryn Foley. I'm a coordinating producer at Barstool Sports.
Hi, I'm Emily Fuller. I am the consumer insights manager for the Shark corded vacuums as well as personal care at Shark Ninja.
Hi everyone, I'm Devin Silva. I'm a senior associate project manager at DraftKings, so I work specifically on our creative ops team, so the advertising segment.
Awesome, thank you. So if you could all tell us a little bit about a typical day for you, what do you find the most rewarding about your job, and conversely, what don't you like as much?
Yeah, so my typical day definitely varies a lot, but currently I do a lot of planning for our brand key moments. So that might be a cultural brand key moment like Women's History Month, which just started, or maybe it's a seasonal brand key moment like the first day of spring. I'm also deep into planning for our corporate social responsibility program this year, and I regularly meet a lot with our creative team, which is tons of fun. So as a brand team, we review any asset really that's going out under Zipcar across owned and paid channels. So it might be our uni prospecting Snapchat ad, or it could be a fun brand trip inspiration email. So we get to review all of that fun content. As for what's most rewarding, I think for me, it's definitely seeing a project from start to finish. So coming up with the strategy, the ideation, watching it go through the creative process, and then ultimately seeing the result, which this summer was fun because we did out-of-home advertising in Boston, and I got to actually see the ads that I worked on like at the tea stops in Boston. So that's definitely the most rewarding part of the job for me.
So with Stonyfield and brand management, it's interesting because you have to wear a lot of hats. So I think my day-to-day very much varies from week to week, month to month. So currently we have a lot of product renovations and packaging innovations and renovations. So I meet a lot with our creative team and our legal team as well, because there's always so many legal claims involved within packaging, especially when you have a consumer packaged good. In addition, within that consumer packaged good industry, you have so many trends that are currently and always evolving. So I do a lot of work with our media team looking at what's currently going on, how can we engage more with our consumers. But on the other side of it, there is also a lot of data investigating and a lot of digging into the data to kind of understand what is going on with our consumer share, what is going on with our sales, what are our plans for 2024, how are we meeting the budget. So it's just, it varies a lot. What I think I enjoy most is that most of the things I do are very tangible. So the things that we discuss in our conference rooms, and if we decide we want to renovate some of the packaging, or we're coming up with a new product that at a couple months later, sometimes a year later, depending on supply chain issues, we can see it at Target, Market Basket, Costco, and just get feedback from national retailers. What I don't enjoy so much sometimes is that, so I'm on the Stonyfield Kids brand, and it's really that you own that brand and you're very responsible for that brand. So the timelines and the responsibility, it falls into my lap. So there's sometimes long later nights that I have to stay and figure out what's really going on, because all of the reporting is going directly to the SLT team to, make internal decisions. So I think it's just a fine balance of fun, but also a lot of pressure. But overall, it's really great.
Thank you.
So I'm on more like the production and media side at Barstool. So my day-to-day also changes a lot. I feel like that's going to be a theme up here. So I work a lot in brand strategy. So basically, I have a bunch of different brands under me, different podcasts, different shows, and I work on figuring out the best way to plan the content, distribute the content, and it changes so much because one day it's like no one uses Snapchat, then everyone should go on Snapchat. Do reels, don't do photos. So constantly just evolving with the different trends. And then the other half of my job is I manage a lot of different producers under me and just help them more with like growth, career, and day-to-day stuff. And then most rewarding, I would say, is how fast Barstool is. If someone has an idea at like 8 a.m., it's done by like 8:15. It's crazy. That's also like difficult because we don't spend a lot of time actually analyzing a lot of what we do. And like, okay, we should do it differently this time. We just move really fast. But I think it's also just the nature of what makes the company so great. So yeah.
So yes, very similarly, my day looks different depending on what day of the week it is. But so 50% of my time is spent, so I should back up a little bit. I'm a member of the new product development team. So 50% of my time is spent really, hands-on with consumers, testing products that we have, of course, to be launched in, X number of months. What do you like about the product? What do you dislike about the product? How are these, key touch points? We, like I mentioned, I work in the personal care business. So we've got a salon in-house. We have a lot of external consumers that come in, use our products. How is this your hair dryer dry time in comparison to what you've got now? What do you like about your Revlon hot brush? What do you hate about it? So a lot of that really tangible product feedback is kind of half of my time, and the other half is more quantitative, working with marketing materials, what's resonating with consumers, what isn't. That's all the way from packaging to, maybe a TikTok that comes up on your feed. So there's quite a bit that goes on. My Monday I could be in research, my Tuesday I could be in, the president's office reporting out on that research. So it all looks very, very different. I think probably what is most rewarding to me is going on TikTok and seeing my products, honestly. I hope some of you are familiar with the Sharkplex style. That is kind of our latest and greatest to come out of our team, and we're incredibly proud of it. And it's really exciting to open it up and see, Elise Myers and a lot of other these big influencers, very organically, hey, I'm not getting paid for this. This is just a product that I saw, looked interesting to me. I tried it and I love it. So that is certainly something that's very fulfilling to me. I think on the inverse, there's plenty of things, right? It is a job at the end of the day. But I think similarly to what Bryn was mentioning, our company moves very fast. Our standard new product development timeline is roughly 9 or 10 months. And that is like half of many other consumer goods. So it really causes us to move very quickly. I think from my point of view, where do I think that kind of frustrates me and hurts me the most is diving much deeper into our data. Of course, right, a lot of it is qualitative that we do, but there is, of course, obviously that quantitative side that I just mentioned. And we don't always have time to go, do all of the data cuts. We don't have time to field our surveys for, weeks at a time. We really have to make sure that these are being filled quickly. And because of that, sometimes we have to relax qualifiers or, get people in who are maybe our secondary target as opposed to primary. So I think that there are certain things that of course, we love, and certain things that we say, all right, well, if we had another day or two, maybe we could do that. But, we'll leave that for the postmortem. And then when we build out the next schedule for next year, we'll try and fit in a day or two for that.
So I would say my day-to-day, actually kind of different from everyone else, can be pretty consistent. So being in a project management role, obviously my projects change day to day, the people I'm working with change day to day, but in terms of like the routine and the processes that these projects follow, that stays pretty consistent over time. So it's nice to kind of have a routine that I know when I get in the morning, I'm reviewing my project statuses before I'm meeting with teams and following up with people and making sure things are still moving. Usually meetings are more in the afternoon when people are collaborating. So I will say I kind of enjoy that piece. It's fun to have differentiation in the work that's being done, but some consistency in terms of routine. I'd say something that I find really rewarding about my job is, kind of similarly to what's been mentioned, just being able to see the work, the projects that, I'm overseeing actually out in the wild, or even better when, a friend will say, hey, like, I just saw this. Is that something you worked on? And it's kind of cool to be able to say that, like, yeah, that is something that I did. But then on the flip side, I would actually say one of my biggest frustrations, honestly, is our legal department. And I know our legal department is so important and they do a very great job, but it tends to really put a lot of pause on our projects because, we'll run full steam ahead with something that fast pace. And then legal's the one that tends to say, okay, wait, now timelines need to be paused. And that makes my job a lot harder because I'm the one in charge of the timelines. So I definitely say legal can be a pain sometimes.
It's very fair. Very understandable.
And then our next question is, what are some marketing tools that you utilize to best reach and engage your consumers?
So for me, I would say our channel owners are actually the tools that we heavily rely on. So that will be our email, social, etc. The people who are really work those channels day in and day out. We, as a brand team, rely on them very heavily because they're the ones that will be able to say, hey, this subject line is going to perform better and it's going to encourage an action over the other one that you had recommended. Based on their past experiences and the data that they've collected, they're able to really steer us in the right directions on how to best engage our customers and our members.
So for us to reach our consumers, what we really try is we try for them to connect with us as a brand. So that's huge for us. Stonyfield very much is about showing the consumer who we are. We show them who are the people behind Stonyfield and who are the family farms behind Stonyfield. So a big initiative of our brand is connecting our product and our consumer to where it's coming from originally. So we have something called a Safe Family Farms initiative, where we work with farms in New England and they're on our packaging, and it resonates very, very well with consumers when they can put a face to the brand. Otherwise, channel-wise, it very much depends. So lately we've seen a lot of success on TikTok, which I'm sure all of us have. It's such an interesting upcoming channel. And I think with that, we try to have a lot of influencers, and we try for people to be able to relate to the brand and say, oh, you do a cooking TikTok and this is the products we use, and then you can like directly click on a link and see where you can purchase those products. So that's how we connect a lot with the brand. But then otherwise, where we connect with the consumer is on LinkedIn, and also on more like professional channels where it gets a little bit more wordy and a little bit more scientific when it comes to the organic and the science side of it, where we can add a little bit more wording versus just on TikTok or Instagram, where it's more about the fun pictures and videos. So I think it's just, it varies on who you're trying to reach, and it also varies on which product line you use. Like I said, I'm personally working on kids currently, but I've also worked on Siggy's before, which is one of our brands, which is not Stonyfield branded. It's just under like the brand umbrella. And that's very much about a simple life for each and individual consumer, not about that family lifestyle. And then the Stonyfield adult products go out to mom, and then the kids products, like, do they speak most to kids or do we speak to mom? So I think it is very dependent on who we're talking to, and then that again varies from channel to channel.
Thank you.
For Barstool, our marketing efforts are like mostly all on social and, like you're saying, TikTok and everything. But the big thing we focus on is just super, super organic reach to the audience. Like nothing, I think I talked about it last time I spoke here. Like we never do like hashtag ad. We never do, everything's like very organic to the content, talent, and the brands that we work with. So it's just building that like trust with the audience and using like Snapchat, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, whatever anyone is on, and just connect with them through our people, because our audience has grown to trust our people. So if our people are like, hey, this is what you should use, this is what you should do, then they're going to do that. So ours is strictly through content.
I think I probably have a very different answer than everybody else up here, because I would say that the way that Shark Ninja reaches our consumers is through me and through my team, specifically where I sit in the new product development space. So of course, right, I work very, very closely with both our marketing and creative departments to be optimizing, the messaging that and materials that they're putting together to speak to consumers. But I'm that vehicle to really speak to consumers. Does this resonate? Is this compelling? Will this drive you to purchase? What about it is, right, particularly exciting? Or what don't you like? What if we phrase it this way? What if it's phrased this way? Does this really, make you think of anything else, right? So we are the vehicle that allows my company to make sure that we are being impactful and driving consumers to our brand. I think in a more literal sense, how do we really talk to consumers? We reach out to panel companies. We've got partners that have many of these consumers, kind of on speed dial. We like to say that they can, blast our surveys out, and we can get that real-time data, the real-time feedback, so that we can fill our surveys in, a day, 2 days, things like that, to really get that fast feedback. So certainly, I think that, social platforms and things like that are fantastic. But I think from my point of view, it really is face-to-face. I'm in a consumer's home. I'm trying to figure out, is this hairdryer too loud in your bathroom?
I would say in a project management role, I'm really not the one, working to reach consumers directly. My teams that I work with focus in partnerships. So whether it's, talent partnerships, whether it's, digital partnerships, working with different sites that make sense with the DraftKings brand and getting stuff live with them. I also work with our retail sportsbook operations team, so actual like on-site materials as well. But for my day-to-day, I guess just to be able to answer the question, if anyone is interested in this type of career, you could look at like my consumers or like my team. So the tools that I use to like reach all of them are things like Rike and Slack, and different things like that, to be able to communicate effectively as a team across different groups.
Thank you. And then what is an example of a project that you worked on that you're most proud of?
Yeah, the project that I've worked on that I'm most proud of was our corporate social responsibility project last summer. So for this, I was in charge of the whole initiative, and what we did was we ran a drive to donate in Boston and Chicago. So we chose a nonprofit for each city, and we custom designed and wrapped 10 cars per market. And then we donated $1 for every hour the cars were reserved in market. And this project was just super cross-functional. There was the whole content strategy plan behind it. It was so much fun to work on. Lots of learnings, lots of recommendations for this year. But what made it so rewarding for me and what made me very proud was that at the end of the program, we were able to donate $20,000 per organization. And I was able to attend I got large checks printed, which are super fun. And I was able to attend that presentation in Boston with our head of Zipcar with the organization. So it really helped make that project full circle. And I enjoyed being able to help these wonderful nonprofits continue to give back to the community.
Nice. For me, I would say one of the things that I was most proud of as I was kind of starting to work with Stonyfield was when I was able to kind of develop a product from start to finish. And this is where Diane's new product development class really came in handy. But so we were trying to co-develop a new product with Costco, and we were looking at current market trends. It was a product for Siggy's, and we were looking at who is a Siggy's consumer, what do they need, what is a gap within the market, and we were able to identify that keto is still pretty big. So we wanted a keto product, but we didn't just want it with yogurt. We wanted to kind of have a granola side cup as well that you can put into it. So then you run into a lot of difficulties though, because then you need to look at who can be your keto granola partner, because we don't make granola in-house. So we had to identify other granola companies who could potentially work with us on this. Then we had to constantly keep checking with Costco, because it also had to be one of Costco's vendors, because again, it was co-developed. So there's just a lot of moving parts, and then a lot of things that we had to consider. Does this even taste good? Can we put this specific granola into the cups? Can our manufacturing line, can they accommodate that because of the size of the tube that puts it into the little cup? So it was a really interesting project that went from absolute infancy to an actual product. And I think what was most fun was just being able to sit in a big conference room with a bunch of serious people, but then have like 5 products in front of you, and you're taste testing them with R&D, and you're like, they actually kind of taste awful. So let's go back to the drawing board and let's reconsider and see how else we can, what else needs to be in this product for it to taste good, feel good, resonate with the brand, resonate with the consumer. And then you have a good product, but then you still need good packaging. But then you need good packaging with correct legal claims. So it's a very long process, but at the end of the day, when it hit the market earlier this year, it was a really, really good success. And it's now in most of the Costco regions, not in the Northeast yet. We're working on it. But otherwise it's a phenomenal product. It's really, really good. And it's just fun to now see again, like also the organic social media people who are posting about it, saying like, oh, this tastes so good, everybody should go try it, it's at Costco. And it's fun to kind of see that project that went from an idea to now being on shelf.
Yeah, I think like the best projects I've worked on have been the ones that are super challenging at the beginning. And you're just like, how am I going to do this? So one example is, speaking of legal reasons, we had a car company that wanted to partner with our outdoors brand. Outdoors, she does like hunting and fishing. She's an influencer. But we couldn't have the car. I don't know how many of you guys, if you've worked with car companies, but there's so many legal issues. You like hands have to be at the right spot, and like it's crazy. So, and we didn't get to use a car either. We had like 48 hours to film with this car, but it had to make sense in like 20 episodes of her content. So we like worked with the legal team, we worked with our branded content team, and we got a truck to be shipped out to her house for like 24 hours. Shot like crazy cool footage with like a drone and like her driving and all this cool stuff, and then just planted it in each episode to make it look like it was happening in that episode, if that makes sense. And they loved it, and it was great. So just working with like brands or anything, if there's like challenges, it's always great when you can conceptualize and figure out an answer.
So I know I've mentioned it at least once already, but certainly my claim to fame here is the Shark Flex style. I think that why it's one of my favorites, of course, right? It's been wildly successful. It's actually been Shark Ninja's most successful product to date, within its time. Ninja Foodie certainly still has us beat, but I think really why it was the most impactful for me is because my team and myself were really trying to expand. I think if I said shark, everybody would say vacuums, which makes sense. We are a vacuum company, but really, trying our best to expand and to stay relevant in more categories. I think, again, if I were to ask if anybody, was aware that Shark made hair dryers before perhaps a couple of months ago, they would say absolutely not. Flex Style is actually our second hair dryer. We did make one that came out about a year ago, and it was really kind of off the shelf. So we work with many factories across the world, and we this was one that one of our factories had developed, and we kind of plucked it and then Shark Ninja-fied it. So we made it really more of kind of what we stand for with our products, but it was kind of a big flop. We didn't do enough, front end innovation work. We really didn't know enough about the hair care space and about hair and personal care in general. So when really trying to attack this new product and going after, right, it's a dupe for the Dyson Airwrap. Dyson is an enormous company who's been very, very successful in this space. We said to ourselves, okay, we need to get smart, and we need to get smart quick. And we need to make sure that we are getting ahead of all of the consumer pain points. So one of the big pain points that we identified is, even look around, everybody's hair is different. You have, kind of a run-of-the-mill scale. You've got people with type 1 hair like me, very straight, very easy to manage. And then you have people, with type 4C hair. They have very tight coils. The maintenance is significantly different. You can't just wash a type 4C hair, right? That's going to strip all of the moisture out of it. You really have to condition, leave-in conditioner, the way that you are going about styling and right, putting those into protective styles. You can't just leave it down, or else you will significantly damage the hair. These are things we didn't know. So it was really a lot of work with my team in the front to say, okay, what don't we know? And then how do we make it better? So we really, spent a lot of time up front figuring out, right, learning about all of these different hair types and what the best way to get them, dried, styled, and get these, women and men out of the door as fast as possible, while also delivering a product that they really see value in, right? So for us, when we're trying to come up with a slew of accessories for this multi-styler, we really have to figure out, okay, what's the right configuration? And ultimately, we ended up with a build your own, because we felt that there were just so many variations and so many different needs with our consumers that there was no, like, we can't fit our consumers into a box, right? That it's just not good business, frankly. So we, made sure that our diffuser for all of the curly girls is what we refer to them at Shark Ninja, but making sure, right, our diffuser is going to deliver you fast results that isn't going to make your hair frizz. For those type 4C, and really all of type, kind of 3C down to 4C, stretching out your curls is something that you absolutely have to do in order to get it into one of those protective styles. So making sure that we are developing a wide tooth comb that is going to allow you to get, a stretched out, look that you would honestly be proud of to walk outside even without putting it into an additional style, or, without a silk press or something like that. And a lot of that, right, is those are just two of the accessories. We have brushes that we really spent months trying to figure out what is the right, bristle pattern, what are the right kinds of bristles. How do we balance smoothing and bristles, boar bristles, things like that, to smooth the hair with more, nylon or synthetic bristles to detangle the hair, right? What are you trying to use this thing for? So I think a lot of legwork went into making sure that this product was really built for all hair kinds, which is, kind of what has ended up, sticking and being our tagline for Shark Beauty, is for all hair kinds. We need to make sure that we are building products for absolutely everybody on the face of this earth. So I think that's certainly something that I was very happy to be a part of, building this brand, but also making sure we're being inclusive beyond that.
Love that. So I would say my kind of favorite project to have worked on so far is honestly the NFL season launch that we had this past year. And one of the reasons that I enjoyed being a part of that so much is because it's something that our creative team gets to have a lot more fun with. So if you see DraftKings content kind of like out in the wild, there's a very clear overarching brand, right? And a lot of the times our materials or advertisements follow that overarching brand. So it's during moments like an NFL season launch that our creative team actually gets to take a step back and put together this idea and strategy for something that's a little bit different. And what ended up actually happening this year with our NFL launch is they came up with this whole idea back in, I think it started in April. And they, all the different teams are pitching and trying to figure out with, all of our senior leadership, which direction we're going with. We chose one, went down the road with it. And then come August, which, we know that NFL launches in September. So come August, turns out that whole thing had to be scrapped. So basically, I cried a little bit. I think everyone did at that point. But then, we had to jump in and put together this whole new campaign. We ended up doing work with, Kevin Hart, which was super cool. So being able to kind of be a part of the team when we're in this frantic place of how do we pivot something and how do we still make it successful. So I think that was just an awesome thing to be able to be a part of, and also a very challenging thing to have to try and manage overall.
Yeah, those are all awesome products. I think you convinced me to switch to the Shark Ninja.
That's what I love to hear.
No, same.
Yeah.
You need product testers.
Yeah.
Let us know.
But
We need a lot of them.
So today we've been talking a lot about sustainability, and I know both of you guys have already mentioned it a little bit, but if you could all tell us a bit more about how your company is leaning into sustainability now.
Yeah, so at Zipcar, sustainability is like literally why we were founded. Everything we're doing is with the goal to help the earth be greener. So lots of different things we do in terms of content. We put out a lot of content out there that is around educating our members and just generally everybody, because everybody could always live a greener lifestyle. But so whether this be like tips to have an eco-friendly picnic at your local park, or tips for making your community more sustainable, we do a lot of brand content around education in that regard. Yearly, we also have an impact report that, again, quite literally is our impact in the communities that we serve, and there is more quantifiable terms of all the differences that we're making in the community. And as of last fall, we launched EVs, which was super exciting. We had a pilot program in Boston, and that is something that we are continuously working on right now to improve our EVs and move forward with that.
Yeah, so for us at Stonyfield, sustainability and being renewable is definitely something that's at the forefront of all actions. So in general, organic farming is a lot more sustainable than non-organic farming. So it means that there are no harmful pesticides that are used within the soils that the cows graze from, like all of the milk, all of our byproducts, like all of the fruit we add into our products. It's all sustainable and it's all organic, which makes it a lot better for you, better for the planet, better for everybody. And besides just the product, Stonyfield does a lot of other initiatives to also help make the planet better. So we have one initiative called Stonyfield Fields, which is one initiative where we take funds and we make playing fields organic. So for kids to play in, for dogs to play in, it just means that there are no harmful pesticides that are being used on that soil, which then can't get into the water system, which just makes a general very, very large impact. In addition, we also have entirely sustainable energy in our Londonderry plant and are planning on having a completely sustainable supply chain by the end of 2023. So there's various scientifically set goals that everybody is working towards to make that greater impact. So I think that overall sustainability is huge, but there's always something and more that all brands could be doing, but it's definitely something where they have a huge focus on.
I probably won't have an answer to this just because it's not my lane, though I do support all this sustainability. But the one thing I can mention is Barstool does a lot with, like, I don't know if any of you know the Barstool Fund 2 years ago now, but it's still going on. So we raised a ton of money, millions of dollars for small businesses and local communities and stuff like that. So we're constantly like doing stuff in the community, but I'm just not in the sustainability lane. I support it.
So Shark Ninja, I mean, there's definitely more than this. I similarly, this isn't exactly my forte, but I know of 3 initiatives that we have going on, and I'm sure there are many, many others. But the first one is we have hired a slew of package engineers to take a look at all of our existing packaging. How can we, first of all, cut out materials? You know, I'm sure if you were to buy a vacuum today, you'd open it up and, you know, it would be in a couple of different pieces. A lot of those pieces would be in plastic. You know, there's lots of stickers and, you know, unnecessary cardboard, things like that in the box. So we have hired a slew of people to just take a look at all of our existing products, and of course, all of the learnings that they have will take place on all of our new products as well. Just how can we cut out materials, packaging, and that's really kind of twofold for us because, like I said, we manufacture all over the world, and today the still the main freight is ships. So the smaller your package is, the more, you know, units you can get onto a pallet, onto a ship. Then the more units you can get over, you know, here faster, the less ships that there are, which of course is huge in the name of sustainability. Second is really around remanufacturing. So a lot of what I do is in-home user testing. So for, you know, I'd say every, let's say 6 weeks or so, you know, during our certain periods, we have units and products that are going out to consumers' homes to test them out. You know, what do you like? What do you dislike? Things like that. But, you know, instead, I'm just not there. When those tests are done, they send them back to us. And for a long time, they just sat in our office. They really, you know, didn't do much. And then twice a year, we've got spring cleaning, and they would end up getting sent into a landfill. So that's not great. So a lot of what we do is now they just get shipped back to where they came from, where they were manufactured. And, you know, then they're broken down. The materials that are able to be reused are reused. The others are recycled. So that is certainly something that, you know, has been a big push for us, right, for our internal testing units, but also, you know, if you were to buy a Shark vacuum and for whatever reason, you know, it became, you know, non-functional or defect, whatever it is, you, right, call up customer service. They'll send you a new one. They'll ask for you to send yours back so that we can manufacture it as well. So really trying to keep as much of our products out of landfills as possible. And I think the last one, which I really love, though I am on the Shark side of the business, I did spend a couple of months over on Ninja. And Ninja, of course, is small kitchen appliances. So a lot of what has to be done is testing that goes on with food, you know, making sure that our temperatures are right and that the heating element is, you know, just the right distance away from whatever it is that you're making, you know, things like that. So a lot of food comes out of that. A lot of meals come out of that. Luckily, sometimes the people in the office get to eat the food. You know, I was telling Nicole earlier that we just released a double oven not too long ago, and one of their big, you know, hero recipes was chocolate chip cookies. So luckily, there were chocolate chip cookies being made in the office very frequently. Though my pant size probably was not very happy about that, I certainly was. But so there is still, right, while a lot of the food is being eaten by people around us, there's still so much extra food. And a lot of it was really just going to waste. So we had our Ninja Test Kitchen, their high impact initiative project, which they completely, you know, developed and defined on their own, was to take all of that leftover food and find a way for it to get donated. So now we are donating something like 900 pounds of food a month to different shelters and food pantries in the Massachusetts area, which is something that we're really, really proud of.
Awesome. I have to admit, I'm kind of in the same boat as Bryn here. This definitely isn't as much my lane or something that I'm involved in. I will say I know that DraftKings does a lot of work with partnerships, so I think that does tend to be an avenue that we work through. And then I think also a lot happens during through our local like offices, our actual locations will put together different initiatives within our local communities to help support sustainability efforts there.
Awesome, thank you. So I know Diane's new product development class has already come up, but what are some things that you learned or maybe did while you were a student, for most of you at UNH, at Syracuse for you, Bryn, that really helped you in your career?
I would say the biggest resource that Paul College has provided to me is Diane Devine. So, I mean,
I'm gonna cry now.
yeah, she very well might. But truly, Diane's career in brand management did help inspire my own very early career. And Diane has been the most helpful resource I could have ever asked for. So all of you in here, if there are people that don't know Diane Devine, there is a networking session after this. Please go introduce yourself because you will not regret it. And then on top of that, similar to Diane, MAC and AMA were two amazing opportunities that I joined and got involved in. I think I still follow the club and everything you do, and it's awesome, the opportunities that members get. So I highly recommend meeting Diane and joining MAC and AMA.
I can very much echo that. I was also going to say it's funny because when I started with Stonyfield, I started within like a headquarters sales role, and then moved into brand management. And they asked me like, "Oh, why are you interested in brand management?" And I was like, "Well, I had a mentor at UNH, and she was in brand management, and she was in the CPG industry, and she was just awesome, and she had a very, very cool career path, and I'm trying to follow a similar path. So thank you." But additionally, I would say getting involved, networking, and I think that with any job that you're going to start, your job is going to teach you of what you need to do directly on your job. However, everything you learn in college of how to juggle a lot of things at once, how do you meet a deadline, how do you approach problem solving, and just that overall curiosity that you learn in college, just maintain that, and then you're set up for success.
Yeah, I would say similar networking really helped, but I remember in college I felt like super intimidated. Everyone's like, you have to network and meet a bunch of people. And so I like would almost spread myself too thin and have like a little foot in every door. But I would recommend not going that route and like really making genuine connections with like one or two or three people you really admire, obviously Diane. It just has helped. You'll build a more personal relationship instead. I always felt like it was just like a check, like, okay, quick network, and now like go do something else. But I would focus on like building really strong relationships with like a solid group of people that you can fall back on.
So I'm also going to say Diane's new product development class. That was certainly one of them. I think that really kind of opened my eyes to what it means to develop a new product. Additionally, market opportunity analysis was a class that I took here with Bilur that taught me what a conjoint analysis was, taught me what turf analysis is, and those are things that I use every single day. Additionally, and I don't know if it's still here, but there was, just kind of like a market research basics class where I learned how to use SPSS. Things like that were really, really helpful for me. I would say, right, I started my career in the agency world, but really having that leg up of already knowing how to use some of these systems, already understanding some of the methodologies were certainly really, really helpful for me. I think the other piece is I was in a sorority here. When I was here, I was in Alpha Chi Omega, and I was able to be on the executive board for a number of years. I think that gave me very, very good experience in managing different personalities. I also think that gave me, experience in learning to work with people, again, with different personalities. The executive board was, 10, 11 girls. And we all came from very different places, and we all frankly had different things that we wanted to get out of it. So it was a really great way to learn how to work together and make sure that we're all, keeping that same common goal, while, of course, all having different job functions on it. It really does echo, a lot of the product teams and cross-functional teams that I work on today.
I think this is a hard one to go last for because I think most things have already been covered, and I would completely agree with all of them. I think the one thing I might add is that especially being in a project management role, right? There's not really a class here that teaches you about that. It's definitely hugely getting involved, the interpersonal skills, being able to like manage people, how you communicate. But I would also say in each company that I've been a part of, the way that you're expected to work is a little bit different. The tools you're expected to use, the processes that companies use internally, they change from job to job. And so I think a big part of what you learn in school is also like how to adjust and how to learn pretty quickly. And so I think that also comes in super handy, because just when you feel like you're confident, you got your handle on how to do something and how to do it well, something changes and you have to adjust and learn something new really quickly again.
Thank you. So other than joining MAC and AMA and connecting with Diane, what is one key advice that you can give students who are looking to start a career in marketing like yourselves? And how can students looking to get into business differentiate themselves?
I would say creating your own opportunities is very important to differentiating yourself. So at the UNH, we have so many different resources available to us, but if there's something that doesn't exist that you're interested in, create that club, do whatever it is that you need to get there. But most importantly, leave your impact. And then when it comes time for those interviews, you're able to showcase skills that you were motivated, you were a self-starter, and not only that, but you're willing to work and you want to work, and interviewers really do want to know that you're committed, you're ready, and really leaving an impact is a good way to do that.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. In addition, I would say definitely self-promote. Anything you do, anything you experience, whether it is an interesting project in a class or a really cool presentation, just take that and translate it into something tangible. I think most important is if you can say, you know, we helped do this social campaign at an internship, or I helped do XYZ and it converted into this many impressions, or it converted into an X amount lift in sales, which if you can say that, that's awesome. If not, take a waitressing job that you did in the summer and say you're very charismatic, that you're very good at networking. So I feel like no matter which project you work on, no matter which job you're in, you can always extract something that's valuable and that you can apply. And then I think my second big piece of advice is ask all the questions. We're all very early in our career. We're never going to know everything. Just show that you're curious and connect with whatever brand that you want to work for. Just don't just pick any brand and go for it. Like, look at why, look at who they are, look at how you can apply yourself to that brand and what can you bring to the table, but also what do you want to get out of that interview, or what do you want to get out of that job?
The second thing you said was what I was going to say. Like, yeah, no, like it's so true. If you see a job you really like, and you're like, wow, I don't have any of those skills, you probably do. It just wasn't labeled that. Like, you should totally curate everything you know and have learned into how you'd be a fit for that job. And it's like, it's so hard because there's the application process, and then you can really showcase that in the interview process. So you have to get there, but it's like manipulating your resume to say those words, manipulating your cover letter. Like, you have the experiences. It just might not be black and white. The second thing is to just do, I guess it's probably similar to what you said too. Sorry if this is repetitive, but it's great advice. Just do the thing that you're saying you want to do. Like, a lot of times at Barstool, it might not apply to marketing, but people will be like, I want to have a podcast at Barstool. It's like, then do it, and then we'll see it, and then maybe we'll sign you guys. But it's like, if you're super passionate about it, I would just start doing the thing. If it's marketing, it's like, hey, I'm going to start doing a little side project, building my portfolio. Start doing it so you have something to showcase, and then you can just better show people in the interview process what you've actually done instead of just saying you want to do it.
Yeah, I think my biggest kind of piece of advice there would be be yourself and always stay true to yourself. I think that in this day and age, there are a lot of people who work their 9 to 5s and they just do it for the paycheck. Your life's going to be miserable if you do that, just letting you know. So I would really recommend finding something that you care about to your core and something that you enjoy, and never let anybody, kind of dull your shine in that way. I get a lot of comments at work that perhaps I'm a little bit too enthusiastic, or I I put a lot of emphasis and time and energy and all of that into, into my presentations. And I think that's a skill. I think that's a good thing. The president of my company knows my name, right? Not everybody can say that at a company with 5,000 people. So I think it's really important to stay true to yourself and of course, right, take criticisms, but also take them with a grain of salt. If it's something that you like about yourself, then stick with it. You will find the place that allows you to for that to be okay. And I think that kind of leads me into my second point here of try again. If, the great thing I think about the workforce these days is, while unfortunate that pensions aren't really a thing anymore, it does kind of open up the opportunity for you to not feel so stuck. So, if you try an internship for 6 months and it's really interesting to you, but you're not sure if it's your niche, then try a different internship for 6 months. Which one do you like more? Maybe you don't like either of them. Try another one. I think it's really important to really find what drives you and what excites you, because if you don't, it's going to be very monotonous 40 years.
Yeah, I would actually add to that to say, I think it's so important. I completely agree to find that thing that you enjoy doing. But I also think it's okay to recognize that you might not A, know what that is now, and B, know what that is even in the first like 5 to 10 years of your career. Because truthfully, a lot of times when you're starting, at least what I've found, when you're starting an entry-level job, it tends to be it's not as exciting every day as it can sound sometimes. There is a lot of stuff that you end up doing because other people already put in the work and now you're the one who has to do that. So I think, and that can make it really easy to sometimes lose sight of the fact that you do enjoy a lot of the aspects of the job. So I think that's such an interesting piece that like I struggled with a lot at the beginning of my career, where it's like not every day is your favorite day. It's a job. I think you said that before. Like it's a job. So you want to love it as a whole, but don't feel like just because you hate it one day or like 4 days of the week, like that it's like a bad job for you.
There's always Friday.
Yes, exactly. And there are always like other people too that kind of feel the same way within your team, and it's kind of all like a camaraderie thing. But I would also say another piece that's so hard about trying to differentiate yourself is that like the reality is there are like 7 billion people on the planet. Like there's no way to really be truly different when you're applying for a job. When you're, diluted down to this like piece of paper, it's really hard to stand out. So I'd say your network is a huge piece of that. Having those internships that you can get to know people at the company that you then want to work at full time, after school, or if they know someone, especially in marketing and advertising, I feel like it gets super competitive. And it's really crucial to know someone to help you get your foot in the door, because there are always going to be people who are involved who are doing great in school. So trying to, call up alumni, have those phone calls, build that network is really critical, I would say.
I agree with that. And just to add on to that, I also feel like that if you had, not so great week at work, I feel like at the end of the day, it just makes it so much better too if you love your company and if you love your product or your service that you're providing. And if you have a great team at the end of the day, like sometimes like last week, it was a tough week. We all stayed until like 11. It absolutely sucked. But at the end of the day, we were like huddled together and we were like, yeah, but this is a really fun team. And like, we're going to come back tomorrow because the work we do matters and we like doing it. And it's yogurt. We're not, saving the world, but it's still a lot of fun. And it's a really great product and a great team, which just like really adds to the overall job atmosphere.
Yeah, and this next question kind of builds off this one, but what are some tips for landing a job, and what ways did you find helpful when you were in our shoes trying to land that coveted job?
Yeah, so this might sound a little obvious, but really do your research, not just for the company, but also the job you want. When I was interviewing for a lot of brand management roles, I can tell you every single time I was asked what my favorite brand is. And my favorite brand is not Lululemon because I wear them. My favorite brands ladder back to my values, what I believe in. So Zipcar fit that in the sustainability aspect, but Generally, if it's an emailed job, have examples of your favorite emails and maybe a nice recommendation on what you would do to improve it next time. And yeah, also, I would say when it comes to jobs, once you get that job, don't feel pressured to take the first offer you get, because there will be other ones, and you really want to make sure that the job you're taking is the right fit for you. So don't feel pressured to take the very first job offer you get, because there will be more.
I love that. That's really hard to do. I remember that feeling like senior year, being like, oh my God, thank you. I just wanted a job so bad. Like,
Yeah,
there are so many jobs.
It's very difficult, especially when you see that, like, the first time you see a compensation package and you're like, oh my God, this is great. And it's so hard to also be like, oh, well, I don't have anything in my back pocket, but ultimately you need to make the right choice for yourself. And if it's not the right fit, it's not the right fit.
And it is okay to negotiate as well. Like, we're all grateful.
Please
when we get a job.
negotiate.
Yes. We're all grateful, and it's really hard, and it's really tough sometimes to ask these questions, especially when you don't have, a super long resume yet. But, know your value, know your worth, obviously stay respectful and within that value. But again, I think that goes back to doing your research as well. Like, what should you be making? What are other people making within your industry? And I think in addition, my advice would be, it's okay if you get your foot in the door in a company and it might not be your ideal role. Work your way up, make the connections while you're at the job, express interest, just make sure that you're making those connections, whether it's outside of the job or already within the company that you're passionate about.
Yeah, I think when you're looking for a job, it's super easy to be like, I want this job. And like, there's another side of it where it's like, is it even the right fit? Like, do you fit in with them? Do they fit in with you? Like, I would just ask a lot of, not weird questions, but like different questions in an interview. If you get to an interview stage and they're like, do you have any questions for me? You should be like, where do you see me fitting in? Like, what's the culture like? Is there someone else I can talk to? Just making sure you fit into that role at the job, because it is going to be like, you're going to spend most of your time and hours there, and like, you really want to develop relationships. So making sure it's the right fit for you, fits your lifestyle, fits what you want to do. And I think they would appreciate getting asked those questions too, because they want you to fit in as well.
Yeah, I think my point of view is exactly that. And I would phrase it as, and I don't necessarily know if I knew this when I was going into, trying to get my first job out of school, but it really is that an interview it's two ways. Yes, they are asking you questions, but I would recommend and make sure that you are kind of, to the best of your ability, leading the interview. Hey, I have a number of questions that I'd like to ask you. Can we make sure we reserve the last 15 minutes? Or whatever it is. I think a lot of times, particularly in the shoes that you guys are in now, right? You're looking for that first offer. You're looking for, the first paycheck that's got a comma in it, or, whatever it may be. But again, you are spending the majority of your time there during the week. So it's very important, right, to know that you are also a fit. And more likely than not, you will be interviewing at least some point with somebody who will be your manager. Ask them what their management style is. How do you like to go about conversations with your direct reports? What are important characteristics that you have found in yourself to be successful in this kind of role? Really, as I've quote unquote moved up the ladder and have had to be on the other side of those interviews, when people ask me questions that I have to think about, that I don't necessarily have the cookie cutter, oh yeah, the culture is great, and yeah, we've got cold brew, and yeah, summer Fridays, right? Like, if you really ask me questions about like your day-to-day, how are you as a manager, that really make me think, I'm immediately gonna remember you. You made me think, so now you've had a much stronger impact on me. So again, I think going back to everything that they've said, but additionally what I was saying, the last question, make sure that you're yourself, and if you actually care about it, so I guess that's the first step, figuring out what you care about. But if you actually care about it, ask it. There is absolutely no stupid questions, and interviews really are, both ways.
I love that piece too about when you get to the point where you are likely talking to the person who would become your manager. ask them about their management style, because especially when you're starting your career, that person is going to be critical in how you grow, what experiences you have. I wish that I had known to ask that, because it's really, really hard if you're also in a position where your style doesn't work with your manager's style and you don't really have anyone to help guide you through those first couple of years starting out. So I really love that. I would also say when you get to the interview stage, make sure that you've done your research on the company. I know that that sounds so basic, but the number of people that we've interviewed and been like, do you know what we do? Like, I don't get it. Like, how do you get to that stage of an interview and not do your research? So it's super simple. It takes like an hour, but go that extra step to look into what is it that the company's doing? How are they growing? What are they focused on? What's the industry like? Because those things, do help to not only like bring that conversation forward in an interview, but also it helps to show them like, here's how you care. You've actually gone the extra mile. And then the only other thing I would say is once you've gotten that first job, the way that I've actually gotten my other positions is literally turning on the LinkedIn, like open to new positions. Like I think it's just like a button you click. And then people will reach out to you, which is really helpful when you're like in a full-time role and you're already stressed. And like, that's probably part of the reason you're trying to leave is because you don't have time to do anything else. So like to have other people start reaching out to you is really nice. So I always tell people like, just press that button because it makes your life a lot easier.
Awesome, thank you. So we have one last quick question, definitely catered to the UNH people, but Libby's or Scorps?
Libby's.
Libby's.
I was told to say Libby's.
Yeah.
Very good.
I didn't go here.
So my answer is actually the Knot, which is closed. So I'm really dating myself. But if I had to choose between Libby's or Scorps, I have to give it to Scorpions Bar and Grill.
Libby's.
Awesome, thank you guys so much. And Autumn's gonna close out for us.
So unfortunately, due to time restraints, we won't be able to do the Q&A portion, but please try to find them outside in our networking event. I'd like to thank all the panelists for being here today. It was really great hearing your insights and having you attend the event. We'll all be in your shoes very soon, so it's nice hearing your insights. And thank you to everyone else for coming to our conference today. It's been a really great event so far, and we're going to continue the fun out in the Great Hall if you'd like to join us for networking and libations. Thank you very much.